I what I really meant to do here. Hey, how you doing? We are the Judas Resurrection. Yeah. Mm. I was talking to the kid on the way back from school yesterday after I picked him up, and it seems he's shown an interest in writing. And I was like, ooh. And so oh shoot, I forgot my prop. Ah. So I started talking to him about Stephen King's book called On Writing. It's a book of his memoirs. The reason I brought it up, well, because he seems to be showing an interest in writing, and I said, well, this is a book for you. You know what? And I said, this book, I started talking about it. I said, the first part of the book is a book of his memoirs, which lead up and show how he got to being the writer that he is through his life. And I said, the second part is all the technical stuff. I said, but you would really like the first part. And I said he might like the second part too. I might not have said that, but I thought it because, well, there it is. This is the technical part. And as part of his story, it fits in. That's part two on writing. It fits in with the memoirs. He speaks of how his uncle, you know, Stephen King was raised by a single mother. There's a whole story. If you want to read it, it's right there. But at one point, his uncle, he was with him in the garage, and he said, we got to go out and fix the screen door in the back. And he said he picked up this big, heavy fucking toolbox that's got everything in it. And he walked back. It's a homemade toolbox that was made by him or the grandpa or somebody. And he carried this giant toolbox out, and he got to the screen, and he took out, I've got a screwdriver right there. I don't need props all the time. Took out a screwdriver, and he fixed the screen 5 minutes. And he put the screwdriver back, and he's carrying it back. And little Stevie, he says, hey, uncle. I can't remember his name. It's been a while since I've read it. I do it every few years, but it's been more than a few. He says, why did you, Warren or something? He says, why did you carry that big giant toolbox all around there just for that one tool? And he looked at me and said, Stevie, he says, you never know how much can be involved in the job. And you're just wasting time going back and forth getting what you might need. Take everything you need with you. And that's when Stephen King talks about filling your toolbox. And I told the kid, I said, I'm going to get you this. I said, you're interested in it? Read at least his memoirs. See what he was like as a little kid. The things that drove him, the things that made him work out properly. And so, remembering that I told him that yesterday, I said, I better get that book. And I went up onto my bookshelf. You might not want to believe it, but I know pretty much where everything is. And even though I have all my Stephen King stuff over there, I went to it right away knowing it wasn't there. And I looked and I see Stephen King's Hearts in Atlantis. I see, for some reason, I have 2 copies of that. I see Stephen King and Peter Straub writing together Black House, which was a sequel to that one story with the kid and the werewolf. I see Needful Things. I see Wizard and Glass, which is Dark Tower Part 4. I was thinking it was 3, but it's 4. I see The Green Mile. I see Everything's Eventual. I see Misery. Misery was a book I read by Stephen King that I had to keep putting down and getting up and screaming angrily. I didn't scream, but I was just like, ah! I don't usually do that with a book, but that damn Annie Wilkes pissed me off so much in the things she was doing, I had to take time to take a break. There's The Shining right there. Ron gave that to me to read. And, well, then above that, I've got more Stephen King books all over the place. You wouldn't know. I appreciate his way of getting into the mind of the reader, not to get into their mind to screw with them, but to get into their mind in a way that they can see what he's saying. He speaks of telepathy in writing, but it's that one place where you can see exactly what a person's thinking. And even though you may not be able to perceive it the way they do, you conceive your own notion of what it is they're saying. You imagine the things you see. The book on writing, best book on writing ever, by The Plain Dealer, Cleveland. Long live the king. Oh boy, now there we have to have 2 kings in the United States. But so, it wasn't over there. And I went back behind me into my not perfect, but pretty good bookshelf behind me. And I moved the chick out of the way. I moved her out of the way. I moved him out of the way. Who's that? Oh, that's me, looking up and wondering what the hell it is you're doing. He's talking to me, not you. And I looked behind that, and there it was. Right where it belongs, on the bookshelf. And I grabbed it, and I said, look at that. I said, it's right where it's supposed to be. People can call you disorganized and messy all they want. But if your brand of mess is your brand of organization, it works for you. Fuck them. They're going to have to figure out their own way. I took it down off the shelf, and I see there's one of these things in here. I usually keep things in a place for some reason, and I make use of blank pages and books. I like to take notes and write down page numbers and my thought, and then I'll go into the page number and I will highlight the thing that creates my thought. Um, and I saw right there on the blank page between part one, the memoirs, and then his telling you advice for writing. I wrote something on the back of the last page of part one. I'm going to read it. I haven't read it yet, but I know it's mine, so I can. Give me a moment. Everybody loves a loser. Here I am. Love me if you like, hate me if it's easier. He walked back into town, and something in his head thought this for him. He walked back into town for what was to be the last time, not knowing how long this last stop might be. He rode out of town many years before as J. Archer Alderquist. The world was open to him. He walked back as Judas. Judas thought through Judas through the betrayal of the South. He took only a quick glance everywhere he went. Then, before closing, the world closed itself to him. He was saddened as a red and it back into his hole. Sometimes my handwriting isn't so good. It doesn't work out so well. Scared him back into his hole. Forever to haunt the graveyard, only half dead. Half dead is enough for exile from the living. The biting, the churning, the yearning. He'd run out of things to want when he never wanted anything from the start. When he never wanted from the start. That was written for February 2003. 2:25 in the afternoon at St. James Station. That's a light rail stop. 8 months later, I was heading to China. I was heading out to do a sacred pilgrimage around a mountain I didn't care about. There's some writing in this. It's not all mine. Most of it isn't. But it really is a good book. That's my book review for Stephen King on writing. Just one other guy I know who has died before, at least in the papers. This is the day before yesterday. It seemed I had to know the reason for forgiveness, why burning fields grow. The world had its reasons. The people had their hopes. I hadn't yet discovered the oil on the slopes. Honesty's the best policy. Miguel de Cervantes. But once I headed downhill and saw where I was going, liars prosper, anonymous. Nicked myself on regret, felt my life blood flowing. Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Turner Classic Movies, part of a classic horror movies stint night on TMC, Night of the Living Dead. And